Am I audible?
Yes.
Great. All right. Well, that's the start of well, it's not the first Prometheo Games KU DevStream, but one of the few definitely. So yeah, great start. I suppose we're gonna just get right into it. Start with introductions, who we are. We're just a few developers and some owners of KU. I'm here with Jonathan, a modeler for KU. I'm here with Verit, one of the owners of KU, and I'm here with Zorar, one of the owners of KU, and me, the Dice, the assistant head developer of KU. Um, we're just going to hold a little dev stream here. We're going to be answering some questions, um, big little Q&A and all of that. Uh, Bunch of fun topics, and we're also going to be showcasing one of our upcoming new models. And God, I can really say it's been a blast working on it with Jonathan. Jonathan's going to be the one showcasing it to you all. It's probably to this date one of our most detailed models. Now, I can already tell you it has been somewhat teased, uh, but we've made a few adjustments and we've worked it out to just refine it to that point. Um, so yeah, I think that's pretty much everything for the introduction out of the way. Again, just to clarify, Q&A, we're going to be answering a few questions, but let's start off with showing what is to come. Now, I would like to also clarify with that, we're going to be showing it in multiple phases, and we're going to start with just showing you the model itself. Jonathan, take it away.
All right. Believe it should be visible now.
It is. Vert, you got it? Screen share it? Or, you're
Yep.
watching it?
Should show up.
Cool. Well, clearly, as you can see, it's Gypsy Danger. Now, some of you may be thinking, hasn't this already been teased? It has. However, we've made a few adjustments, a few refineries, um, and it has gotten a lot of upgrades and some special things. But first, Jonathan, I'm gonna just let you show off the model, a few angles, this, maybe some little specific parts and all that.
All
We
right.
can talk about it a little
Chat
process.
going crazy.
So I'll run through some of the poses here. So first, here's a turnaround of the character. As well as some closer up detail. We've added much to the spine and the mechanical portions of the character. And almost everything you can see can move. If I switch out of this mode, you can see some of our, here's a classic pose. You see some of the shoulder mechanics as well as the elbows working there and the very large shoulder pauldrons. Here's
Somebody
Gypsy
in-
Danger with her swords deployed on both arms.
Somebody in chat just spelled Gypsy as with a Gypsy Dangers with a J.
Here's an explosion of some of the movable portions within the arm, as well as within the back. All of which function individually. Here's Gypsy's gun deployed. And the normal fist. So there's some of the poses of our main Jaeger. What would you like to do next, Energize?
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to definitely say the person that's going to have to animate this is, well, they've got their work cut out for them. As you could have seen, it's got a lot of moving parts. And that is just the arms and all that. Now, surprisingly to some people, this definitely is not all. We're going to be showing more of this model because there is more to show. But before we do that, I suppose we'll get into a little Q&A, shall we, Vert, Zarar, Jonathan?
Yes. So if you'd like to
Definitely.
ask some questions, you can ask it in the questions channel, the dev questions channel within the Discord. We'll be answering many of the questions there. So feel free to ask questions there.
Right, let's give it a little, let them all
Accumulate.
It's gonna let a
Let
few.
them all gather.
So the
Yeah.
first question we've gotten is, are all Pacific Rim Kaijus going to look detailed and polished like Gypsy Danger?
Absolutely. I can definitely already, I suppose, somewhat confirm that. 3 of the current Jaegers have already been teased, to my knowledge. And I can definitely say that, well, the first's more outstanding than the last, and the last is more outstanding than the first. They've all got their own unique little points, unique little details. It's, well, simply said, honestly, the Jaegers are probably going to be some of our most impressive models. Mainly due to all of the mechanic parts and the little things like stickers. Jonathan, if you can real quickly actually zoom in on some of these stickers on the I think it's the chest plate of Gypsy.
Certainly. So, if I zoom in on Gypsy, on our right, we have the kill count prior to fighting Knifehead at the beginning of the movie. Additionally, we have our own version, Roblox friendly version of
Hmm.
Gypsy Danger's insignia that
Mhm,
appears on her launching pad.
mhm.
There are numerous. I suppose I may as well switch it to textured mode so you can see it. You agree, Dice?
Uh, yeah, sure, why not?
So if I switch into the textured mode, you can see that there's slightly different coloring on many of the panels to make it look like it was assembled out of multiple parts, and it's also got a fair bit of wear in different areas. So 34 on the sides. There are many green and red and white lights spread throughout the character, much like there was in the movie. If I zoom in on the chest here, you can see there's individual grading in between the spotlights in the chest, as well as on the pectoral plates, the back wings, the neck guard, as well as Gypsy's face has a number of lights. They're really quite spread throughout the character. Additionally, there's all sorts of small decals here that appear on the character.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, simply said, it's there's a lot more of this, and each kaiju has their own big jumble of stickers and such and such. Yeah. Um, I suppose, Ferd, do you see another question?
Yeah, so I was going to bring up another question, which is, and this one would be for Jonathan. How long on average does it take to make a model this detailed?
That is an extremely variable question or answer, I suppose. This detailed, well, the original Gypsy Danger model we made probably about a year ago was modeled in about 3 weeks, very, very roughly. And the updates to the model were made in about a week. Um, However, depending on what exactly it has to do, there's a lot of variation that can sometimes. I think the quickest I've ever done a model is a week, and I think the longest is something like 2 months. Um, so it can vary a lot, especially when you have all the working mechanics and small panel lines and rivets and lights that characters like these have.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, let's real quickly roll into another question I see here. Question, will Gypsy Danger's moveset be as promising as its model? Uh, well, again, that's going to be quite something to beat, as the model itself is extraordinary. Um, but yes, to give a little bit of insight, when we do work on a moveset, it goes through multiple people. and in general, everybody's able to tip in, give their own little opinion, and criticize some things that may not be fully ironed out. So we hope to bring something like that, yeah. But as I said, later in the stream, we're going to be showing some other things that this model still has somewhat hidden. So yeah, that's of course going to I don't know, just slide into that section a little better of what the moveset's going to be like and what it's going to be able to bring to the table. Verit, you see another question?
Yes. Hold on one moment. So a question for Zerar. What are the processes that go into making some of these choices?
Well, there's a lot of discussion that needs to go into every moveset now because some things might look good when it's being animated, but like sometimes it's quite impossible to balance such things, and it's quite impossible to uh, make them work with how power scaling is and how other things work, such as scripting them. Obviously, everything comes with limitations. So these decisions often take time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically just why some things sometimes get delayed and some things can take longer because sometimes we scrap entire projects if we don't think they're up to par because we like releasing quality goods and we like ensuring quality, and that becomes hard as well with our scale. We have like about how many models do we have in game now, Bert?
62.
We have around 62 models. Like editing each one of them is a logistical nightmare. So we're trying to release good things and we're trying to remodel them slowly. That's
Mm-hmm.
just that. I think we can move on. I think these guys want to see more Gypsy than anything else.
Let's answer one more question. Um, Real quickly, I would actually like to hook into what Swara said because Swara is extremely right. We do always try to get out what is the best looking, what is purely of quality that will prosper in game because we don't really like adding things that don't quite meet that bar because they're going to stand out. So of course that sort of segues into a big, I suppose, I, I don't know, just this movement of how much we really value our dev team and the work they do, the time they put into all of it. And I would honestly like to say, well, of course, logically, this game wouldn't be what it is without them. That goes for the modelers, the people who make the rigs, the animators, and of course the scripters. Um, and really all of the little behind the scenes sound design, UI design, everything. It really isn't what it is today without all of those people. But I'm sorry, I'm rambling on. Real quickly, to a short little question: are the Pacific Rim Kaiju's going to look as detailed as the Jaegers? Um, that is going to be quite a feat. As I said, the Jaegers are extremely detailed, but also with that, we're going to make the Pacific Rim Kaijus as accurate as we can possibly make them. We're going to make them as detailed as we can make them without them lagging the hell out of the game, of course, But apart from that, it's bound to be promising because, again, these Jaegers are already this. What does that mean for the Kaijus? But yeah, with that, like Zerar was saying, real quickly, let's roll into what we have next on Gypsy Danger. Jonathan, how do you feel about showing the transformations that
Yeah,
entailed?
well, there's a question about that. And the question is, I'll read this question out. Will Gypsy's forearms actually transform, or will it be like Kiryu, where its weapons just fade into existence?
Just show them to answer the question.
I think we can answer that.
Just visually answer the question, please. I forget that I have a live preview here. I keep watching the stream and it's a little bit behind. I'm like Why are things moving?
Think
So
we
as you
got
can
to do that
probably see,
again. Think we
yeah,
got to do
sure.
that again, Jonathan.
Gotta do that again. It's too
I'll just
fast. Shoot around, like
I'll
spin around it.
put it on repeat.
Yeah.
Ooh. Change the angle at which you're viewing it. I think. Wait.
So this is some of the work that went into Gypsy and trying to determine roughly how the cannon transforms. There are a lot of moving panels inside that allow this, but I guess to answer that question, no, it won't just fade in. It is an actual transformation. Additionally, there's no hiding parts. Uh, it works.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan, I might as well ask you, because I happen to know the answer, but how do you, well, I suppose how'd the process go of knowing how everything transforms, and how'd you come to know all of that?
Oh well, that was fun. I watched the same clip for about 6 hours, and started modeling the individual pieces. Additionally speaking, I have a overly expensive Gypsy Danger figure, which has some of the panels that do actually move. And I basically tried to reference the movie as close as possible. There's actually in the movie, if you watch the behind the scenes, there are some clips where you can see things are hiding in the movie. Uh, However, we've done our best to try to make it a legitimate transformation. All the parts are inside the arm, and basically it was a very long grind. I think the longest I spent modeling on Gypsy Danger, excluding bathroom breaks, was I think 22 hours at one point.
Including bathroom breaks.
We can't forget those, of course. Well, all right. With that, I suppose let's real quickly roll into some questions again. Vert, got a question for you right here. It's not as much a Pacific Rim one, but it's a question. Will you guys ever increase the numbers of players that can be in the server?
That's a good question. So I believe the current server cap is 20, and the reason that we have it at that amount is because of scene limits, right? Now what that means is your computer can actually only handle so many characters in front of you, and we have to be able to support a minimum requirement of computer, right? So like for example, we go all the way down to the iPhone 6, right? We have to be able to support all the way down, and that means that we can only have as large of servers as that phone can handle, right? So that means that either in order to increase the player count, we either need to do two things. We either need to stop supporting lower end devices, or we need to optimize our models more. And optimization is something that's very big that we have to do here, because continuously we have to always push the bar, because not only do we want to increase the quality of our kaijus, but we need to decrease their performance requirements, and oftentimes they fight. Actually, I think this is a great model to kind of demonstrate how much they fight, if you'd like to segue into that, Jonathan.
Yeah, so on Gypsy here, there are many, many moving parts. And one of the things we try to watch is part count and triangle count. And for example, one thing that we're doing is we're managing exactly which parts move on which arm to deploy which weapon. And we've been extraordinarily careful, as Verret said. So this kaiju, or this character, with its detail, should perform similarly to many of the characters currently in game. We didn't throw out our performance requirements just to make the character. It still had to meet all the statistics we aim for. But it's a really hard balance. I would have loved to have added a lot more to Gypsy. However, certain things can't be done within a multiplayer Roblox game supporting 20 players. But we do try, and I think for Gypsy it hasn't turned out too bad.
Segueing into another question, which is, will Gypsy Danger be free, a Game Pass? What will its requirements be? We've seen this question many times now. To answer it, Gypsy, for those of you who don't know, back in 2020 when the game released, we briefly had a DLC Game Pass that only a handful of people actually bought. That was for a pre-order, effectively, for Pacific Rim. And in this pre-order, it did actually say that eventually the DLC itself would be free. So we're still deciding on exactly what we want to do. Obviously, at some point, possibly on release, though that isn't decided, the Kaiju will be free. But as of now, we haven't decided when that's going to be, whether we're going to release the Kaijus first, then it's going to be free, or what we're going to do in terms of that.
All right. With that big question out of the way, I think we ought to tackle one very big question, which a lot of people also have, and that is about Godzilla x Kong Empire, which of course is the new coming up MonsterVerse Godzilla movie. And somebody asked, will you guys make a 2024 Kong and Godzilla remodel when this movie comes out? Now, I'm going to be quite frank in this. That really depends on the individuality of Godzilla and Kong in the movie. If they really have some very remarkable differences and maybe tweaks, maybe if Kong has new weapons or stuff like that, or has gotten really old, maybe Godzilla. Well, what I was actually thinking, maybe if Godzilla 2021 has not gotten a remodel by that time yet, we could always merge the two if it's got some new abilities or something like that. And then there, of course, is the new character, the different ape species in the movie trailer. I can quite easily say about that. We're, of course, going to be adding that. And I suppose I can have some people look forward to when this happens. Of course, demand for the MonsterVerse genre is going to be big again. And we are eventually also planning to add a lot of the unadded kaijus that we do not have in game yet, but are in the Godzilla vs. Kong movie. So you can all look forward to that. And there, actually, I have a question for you, which I see here. Will the Easter items be removed in the next update?
Yes. We've been in very much been backed up in terms of updates. We have a very large update that's coming out that I can't give details on. But because of that, we haven't been able to push other updates to actually remove it. And we also forgot. But yes, it shouldn't be around in the next update. Though, on that note, we do plan on adding more things to the map that behave similarly to them and give advantages in combat, since that's been extremely popular.
And then I have another question here, Zarar, which I would actually like to answer with you. Well, we've had so many of them that I'm not quite sure which it is. So let's just go over a few of them. And that is, which kaiju has been the most difficult to create, animate, and script? Well, of course, let's
I hate you. I
yeah.
hate you for this question because it's definitely Ghidorah. Has to be the Ghidorah. The King Ghidorah.
No, actually, I think it's been beaten. I think it wholeheartedly has been beaten by Ava, no?
I don't think so. It didn't. Okay, we took 2 years on King Ghidorah because of the amount. We remodeled it 4 times.
That is true. Oh, I
We
forgot.
reanimated it over 5 times. 6 different animators.
Oh God, I forgot that it took that long. Holy shit! Oh, that's a while ago. Yeah, that's a while ago. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Still, Ava was such an intricate process. No, I mean, to be fair, it was all done by one of our animators. But it did take a long time, a lot of animations. It's probably the kaiju with the most animations in game, definitely actually. 64 animations, if I'm correct. Yeah, real quickly, I want to actually go to the last part because nor me, no Czar can, of course, comment on which kaiju was the most difficult to script. That's a question for you, Verit.
What kaiju was the most difficult to script? I would actually say that was Monster Zero, and it's not for the reason that it maybe definitely Eva if we're talking about just a kaiju, but we me and Zeal had to basically cram 20-hour working days for a full week in order to get the new framework out on time to meet the New Year deadline of when we wanted to get Monster Zero out. So that was a huge crunch. That wasn't quite only Monster Zero, but the new framework was needed for a lot of the features that Monster Zero required. So it also was. If not that, then it would also be Ava, just due to the raw amount of attacks, etc., that was needed for that.
All right. All right, then I actually have another thing right here, which I see, which is basically also your specialty. Shame Zeal isn't there to answer it, but will more minor updates, such as bug fixes or small features, become more common?
I actually answered a pretty similar question to this not that long ago. And so there's a number of factors in here. In terms of rebalances, you're going to start seeing a lot more of them. We really redone how we do rebalances almost entirely so that the community in large can help us with them. And that's something you're going to start seeing in the next update, actually. We have a large rebalance wave of, I think, 12 kaijus that are getting rebalanced, and then after that, another 12. But in terms of bug fixes and such, what usually ends up happening is immediately after we release an update, we actually start working on the next update. And why it's so problematic for us to release things like bug fixes is because we oftentimes need to do the work twice if we're going to add a bug fix and add it immediately. So typically bug fixes actually get pushed to the next major update because it's very easy to work on the next major update. And there's a lot of things such as testing that we need to do whenever we do a bug fix, and we need to do a whole round of testing to make sure the game isn't going to break. So in terms of bug fixes, probably not as much, but we do definitely want to focus on fixing a lot of the current bugs in game. They just won't be split up into smaller updates.
All right, all right. Garrett, do you see any more questions?
Yes, actually, I see a few. A question for you and Zarar, actually. Or mostly just you. Will you be revealing the loading screen winners in an update or in Discord?
Yes, that's going to be revealed probably in a Discord announcement, probably by Den and Elevated. Probably, I think. I don't actually know. We've already decided upon them, and there have been some. I can honestly, it's just some great submissions. And it's honestly great because it's going to bring a whole new, fresher feel to the whole having to wait to actually spawn. I don't know. It's, I like the little things I get at it like that. So yeah, that will be announced pretty soon. Any more questions, Barrett?
Yes, a few more actually.
Let's go with one and then move on to with Gypsy.
Yeah.
The next one will the quality of models take longer to release due to the mass amount of effort that would go into them?
Yes. Well, this one I can of course answer with Zwar, and me and Zwar both know that. Well, again, we try to really bring the most in every kaiju when it comes to not only modeling, making sure that the rig is just perfect, and also just making sure that the animations are all top quality. Yeah, well, we do make an effort in that, you know, and that does take a lot of time. But we really try to be secure with that time. We really try to be fast but efficient. So yeah, just a short little question. But yeah, I think it's about time because I got lost in questions. Jonathan, let's show a final little thing about Gypsy that is going to showcase even, or I guess even more little details and really bring out the appreciation for this model in general.
Sure.
Also,
So
just to also say that like the more time the community gives us, the better we can do our models. Honestly,
certainly.
Definitely.
So I mentioned at the beginning of the stream that if you see a panel on Gypsy, it probably moves. And we've got a little animation to demonstrate that. So I right here. This is an animation of Gypsy walking that we've done as a sort of a test to put together the different moving panels. And so I'll go around it and then I'll talk a little bit about the things that move.
that thing is hella flexible.
Yeah,
Everything is super flexible.
that was the plan with a lot of the adjustments, is to make it carry as much weight as possible, much like they do in the movie. This specific walk was referencing the scene where Gypsy's dragging the boat, so it's sort of a power walk here. So if I zoom in, start with some of the smaller details. On the legs, these panels move with the pistons as the legs move forward and back, and they move down as Gypsy takes a step. Additionally, these knee panels, as weight is transferred to them, they'll jiggle with the weight as if it's on a flexible mounting. The inner knee moves slightly up into the thigh. If we come to the, I'll do the arms next. If we come to the chest, you can see the pectoral panels are moving in here. They move as Gypsy moves her arms, and additionally, they have a bit of a jiggle with the weight. There are very, very slightly moving pistons in Gypsy's neck. It's difficult to see here. Of course, the turbine's spinning. If we move on to the arms, the inside of the arms have mechanics modeled in here to, as best we could in Roblox, mimic how the character moves within the movie. And you'll notice there's a lot of weight within the pauldrons. They jiggle quite a lot. Additionally, it's difficult to see, but the rocket elbow portion moves. The forearm panels are moving, as well as the inside panels. There are also capacitors and wires inside the arms. Next onto the back is where there's a lot of movement. So first we have the main wings that Gypsy has guarding her back. They jiggle with the weight and can be posed individually, as well as the lights on them. This neck guard also moves, again, to carry weight. A lot of this is meant for carrying weight. These back armor pieces move, and so do the rockets on the back of Gypsy. Additionally, if you look closely and zoom in, there are individual spine plates that move with the abdomen and the breast to give it a little bit more life and a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, and with all of that, of course, Jonathan, the question does come to mind. With all of these parts, this must be an extremely unperformant model. So, of course, I'm going to ask you, how performant is this model?
It should be pretty much as performant as anything else in game. We haven't deviated from our performance requirements, and we've been very careful about making it work for all players. Shouldn't be laggy.
Again, as I've said, this model is not only impressive in the fact that, well, of course, it looks gorgeous, but again, it's not going to cause any lag issues if that's something that you were worried about, or anything of the fact. And again, just to clarify it, all the Jaegers are like this. All 4 of them, which we currently have planned. Yeah. Yeah. Really, just gives them some good angles on the walk, I suppose. Using close-ups and some of the little moving parts. Yeah, and I think after that we'll move on to a few more questions. I think after that we're going to be wrapping it up.
Sure.
Pretty much so. Again, for everybody absolutely spamming us about this, Gypsy will be at some point free. We have already said that.
I have a couple questions, though people seem to be very much deviating from Gypsy
Yeah.
Danger.
Yeah, Jonathan, I'm gonna let you keep just showing off this model while we talk in the background and answer some questions. So let's get into that. You said you had some questions, Verret.
Yes, so Dice, how long does it take to make a cinematic trailer? For example, for Ultima and Jet Jaguar Beta, Mecha Godzilla and Monster Zero, Muto Prime's trailer. How long
Yeah.
did they take?
Yeah. Now we have had some trailers, and well, again, it really varies. Of course, the first ever trailer. It's really funny because I the other day saw a little post about this. The first ever trailer which we made for this game was of a video of a render that Jonathan made of the current in-game Kiryu model, just roaring and its eye flickering. And just to take that and take one of the most recent trailers. Let's real quickly just look at, for instance, I mean, let's look at the Ultima trailer, really, because it was technically the Ultima trailer, made by one of our very talented animators, Framed. He did such a good job, and really, it's the sound, the cinematics. It takes quite some time, but honestly, with all the right effort and with all the right love, it really comes to flourish. How long does it really take, though, in bolder terms of just actual time? It can take anywhere from up to a few days to maybe even 2, 3 weeks in some very rare cases. The trailer that was for Monster Zero and Mechagodzilla 2021, made by Jonathan, by the way. That was quite a tough one. For instance, I don't even quite remember how long that one took. Jonathan, do you remember?
No.
No. Of course, back then, it was my mistake of not exporting it in the best quality, of course. Still something
Oh,
I
yes,
carry.
I do recall that.
Nice.
Uh,
I will roll you.
Yeah, I know. Overall, we since we're talking about trailers, or teasers in general, we've tried to balance it out a bit more with some lower effort, just pictures and stuff like that, or even some showcases in game of the upcoming Kaijus by Zeal. But overall, yeah, it can take a long time, but it can also be done in a pretty swell time. For instance, the real quickly to end it off, the Manila trailer was actually just a joke animation that I was making with Framed. It started off as a joke, and eventually I was like, it's a derpy kaiju. We can release it dancing, and then end it off with a cryptid sort of version of it. But that's basically the question. Vert, any more?
Yes, we have quite a few more.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull up one for you. So the next question is, will the Jaegers and Pacific Rim Kaiju come out all at once or one by one?
One by one. It's definitely not going to be all at once. Again, all of these Jaegers, they're all super, super detailed. they are going to take a bit of time, but I suppose I can somewhat say they're all going to be in an orderly succession. You know, it's not going to be another year from now until we're going to see the next Jaeger. You know, and I can also say they're already pretty far into the works. I'm not saying when they're releasing. I'm not throwing any release dates, and don't quote me on this. But you know, we've been doing good work on them, so you should expect to get some updates soon, probably. Uh, yeah, yeah. uh, let me see. Any more questions? I'm gonna pick one up for you, Verit. Hold up. Hold on. Let me find it here. Let me find one. Um, um.
Dice is having trouble picking a question.
Hmm. Let me just see.
Putting me on the spot here in front of thousands of people.
Well, wait, just ask me a question. Just ask me a question. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look for it. Or maybe Jonathan or Azor. I'm gonna find something in the meantime.
All right.
Let's see here then.
I know a lot of people recently have been asking about remodels and such, and a lot of people come up to me and ask me, "Oh, will this thing get a remodel? Will that thing get a remodel?" Uh, most things will. Older things will first, and we have a few remodels which are newer and few remodels which are older, and basically we just keep on releasing whatever's first. We try to go and release what the community wants, but sometimes we can't because of how things are stacked. Because our development is a batch process. Um, each kaiju goes through steps. We can't just choose to stop one kaiju and start another. We have to see it through. So most kaijus you see in game will definitely be getting remodels that are old and tarnishing throughout time.
hmm Let me see. Verit, I've had a question for you. How tall will Gypsy be? And of course, mainly the question is around the second part. On what do you base the sizes of kaijus in game?
So for those of you who are not aware of how we do kaijus and scaling, we actually have a physical ruler in game and a mathematical formula that we use in order to scale kaijus accurately. Now this actually isn't a one-to-one formula because some kaijus are maybe 30 meters tall, and while other kaijus are easily over 200. So in order to not have a giant size discrepancy, so that we can have some level of combat, and not have um, hitbox abuse or such like that, we work off of a logarithmic scale. So um, basically, we're around the 50-meter mark. Is you have a 10-meter mark, and it goes up all the way to 100 meters. I'll post a picture of this scale in KU development afterwards if you'd like to look at it. It's and that's how we tend to do most of the scaling. Sometimes we do differ from this traditional scaling, if we feel that the kaiju needs it for whatever reason.
All right. Verit, you see any more questions?
No, that seems like that was all the burning questions that I kept seeing over and over.
Oh, real quickly, I see one here. I feel a little obligated to answer it. There's a lot of info about the Pacific Rim Jaegers. But what about the kaijus? I real quickly want to put this to rest. I don't really feel comfortable to say much about those yet. When there's more news on those, it will be announced. But currently, I don't really feel like there's a lot to say other than some of the previous kaijus for the Pacific Rim game, for the Pacific Rim stuff. Not a lot of people have been very happy with some of the stuff, and on specifically some of the stuff that people have not been pleased with. I can really assure you all that we are working on that uh, to make, of course, the best possible outcome. But yeah, Verit, as you said, I think that about wraps it up. I think that's pretty much everything. So yeah, shall we end it here then?
Yeah, this was a wonderful death stream. I hope that we answered many of your questions, and we'll try to do
Uh,
many more of these.
Yeah. I would once again like to thank the modeler, Jonathan, for being here in the stream, showcasing Jonathan, showcasing Gypsy Danger. I would like to thank Zarar being here, answering a lot of questions. Verit, you too, answering a lot of questions. Uh, and I suppose I'm here too, answering a lot of questions. And
Thank you,
I
guys.
can. Hmm?
Thank
Did you
you,
just
guys,
thank
for all the
yourself?
help. Yeah, thank you. Thank guys.
Thank you. Yeah, I suppose I can say, I don't want to confirm anything, but who knows, maybe we're going to have some more of these in the near future. But overall, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being with us and asking some of these great questions. And yeah, I suppose that's about it. We'll see you all the next time. And thank you all. Have a great night. Bye bye.
Bye bye.